We just got back from a week in Skegness, one of those classic cheap UK holidays. But was it actually cheap? And what did we really think of it? In this video, I'm going to break down exactly what the trip cost us, how my one-bag travel experiment went, and whether I'd recommend taking the same trip we've just done. If that all sounds right up your street, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn your notifications on, and why not drop a like on the video while you're there? It puts a big old smile on my face. But enough of that, let's get down with a breakdown of these costs. I've broken it down by category. Category 1 is accommodation cost. And if we start things off with the caravan itself, we stayed at the Haven Holiday Park in Skegness. That cost us £349 for 4 nights. That was for 3 adults plus a dog in the middle of June in a 3-bed caravan. That price also included the Haven Play Pass, which gives you access to the pool and the on-site entertainment, but it doesn't include Wi-Fi, and Wi-Fi is not even an upgrade option. And as you'll have seen if you watched the vlogs from last week, we struggled for the internet all week long because not only did we have no Wi-Fi, 4G, 5G, basically non-existent, access to the internet. But that's not what the video is about. The video is about how much it cost. So do I think we got value for money? I don't know that we needed that Haven Play Pass. We didn't use any of the entertainment at all, and we only went swimming once, and we stayed in the pool for about 20 minutes. It was very much a rectangular leisure centre style pool, so we'd probably skip the Play Pass if we were to go again and save some money there. Obviously, if you're more into the swimming and the entertainment stuff, it probably does present good value. The caravan itself, though, was really clean, modern, well kept, much better than any of the caravans we've stayed in previously. I actually changed my views on caravan holidays a little bit because I always thought they were a little bit cheap and cheerful, but this actually, it was really pleasant. The location of the park is on the outskirts of Skegness, so you don't feel like you're stuck in the middle of a stag party for the whole week that you're there. It's nice and quiet. Like I say, it's nice and clean. I think the fact that we went outside of the school holidays probably helped with everything just feeling a little less busy. We didn't have to queue or wait for anything, and it wasn't particularly noisy, so that was all big bonus stuff. But we were still close enough to Skegness where we probably could have walked to the beach in 15-20 minutes from where we were. As it was a 2 or 3 minute drive. And as this is a video about cost, we'll get back to that 2 or 3 minute drive in a minute and why it might have been a good idea to possibly walk it. But let's move on to our next category of costs, which is food and drink. And I think if I were to make a prediction now at the start of the video, this is the area where people are going to criticize us a little bit, because we spent £170 at Tesco when we first arrived, and that wasn't all we spent on food and drink over the course of the week as well. So that initial £170, yes, I get it. That's high. It's really high for a 4-night stay, but a couple of things to bear in mind. Firstly, £60 of that was Andy's specific stuff that he specifically needs for him. His fish fingers, waffles, crisps, his pop. Also, we had to get a load of cleaning supplies. We were very unprepared for having a trip away with Andy after a little while of not doing it. We were out of practice. We forgot how much mess and cleaning he generates, so I had to go out and get a whole load of cleaning stuff as well, all of which we've brought home. So it's not like it was a one-off cost and that's now gone. We've just replenished our cleaning stuff at home for a month or two. But even with that, taking account of £60, £110 of it was still basically me and Anna getting food for 4 nights. That is food and drinks and ice creams and like holiday treat stuff. It wasn't just like bread, milk, cheese. We got a few luxury bits in there as well. And doing that meant that we didn't hit up the takeaways on site, which is something we would have done in the past. There was a Papa John's, there was a Burger King, there was a restaurant pub place all at Haven, and we didn't use any of those. So I think although it was a bigger upfront spend, it only actually works out at like £25-30 per night between me and Anna, and I think that's actually not too bad. You could easily spend that on a takeaway. The one time we did eat out was when we had our day in Skegness. You have to have fish and chips at Skegness. We did. It was £16 for me and Anna to have fish and chips. Plus there was one other spend on food and drink. Dave got a bit of an upset stomach because somehow he ended up eating an awful lot of Twiglets early on in the trip, and it seemed to upset his stomach a little bit. So we had to get him some rice from the on-site shop. That was £2 for a pack of rice. That was expensive. I wouldn't want to buy any more food from that shop because it was about double the price it would have been in our local Sainsbury's. And the other thing with it being a big spend, but a spend on groceries rather than takeaways, is we have been able to bring a lot of that stuff home. So we brought a load of crisps home for Andy. Like I say, all the cleaning stuff, we had leftover cans and biscuits and crisps and stuff like that. So we actually didn't have to do a food shop when we got home. So it lasted us through the weekend as well. So I actually don't think it's too bad. Yes, we obviously could have saved money there. We didn't need to get all the luxury stuff. We didn't need loads of cans of pop, for example. But I counter that with the fact that we don't drink, we don't smoke, we don't go out partying. And when you see the rest of the stuff on this list, that was pretty much our only gratuitous spend, I think, going a bit over the top on groceries, which, what do you expect from chunky folk, eh? This next category really surprised me when I was adding it up: entertainment and extras. Now, you could put the Haven Play Pass in this category because that was additional to standard accommodation. So you could bump this figure up a little bit, but we've already included it in accommodation, so we're not including it twice. So really, the only spend we had on entertainment was a couple of times we went to the arcade. We went to the arcade in Skegness, in fact, 3 times, 3 days in arcades. We went in Skegness, we went at Fantasy Island, we went again at the Haven Park. I think over the course of the 3 days, across 3 of us, we probably spent about £30 in the arcades. Which, yeah, £30 in arcades is a lot, but if you saw that last day video, you saw just how much tat Andy came away with. So he's probably got close to £30 worth of tat out of it. And plus, it was pretty much our only spend on entertainment. Fantasy Island doesn't cost you anything to get into, and he didn't go on any rides when we were in there. So we got that walk around Fantasy Island, the walk around the market. All of that is free. We're window shopping. Doesn't cost us anything to just be there, soak up the atmosphere. Obviously, doesn't cost us anything to go to the beach. Doesn't cost us anything to go in the beachside shops. It doesn't cost us anything to be around Haven, around the swimming pool. So aside from that £30 in the arcades, I've gone back through the videos, I've gone back through bank accounts, I've asked Anna to try and remember any cash spends she had. The only other things we could think of that we spent on top of the arcade for about £30 is Andy bought a beach ball out of his own money for £2.50. And I got a Skeg Vegas tea towel for £4 on the market. But aside from all of that, that's it. So our total spend for the week on entertainment and extras, you're looking at like £35, which I think very nicely balances the slight overspend we had on food and drink. We didn't spend anything really on entertainment. Then we've got the travel costs. We're lucky in that we live relatively close to Skegness. It's only like 70 miles away. I haven't actually checked the actual mileage. What I do know is we filled up the tank with petrol before we left, and we had about half a tank left when we got home on Friday afternoon. So that we've used about £30 worth of petrol. It's about £60 to fill up the tank in full. Parking, though, is expensive. This is something to probably bear in mind. I mentioned we could have walked down to Skegness Beach. It cost us £8 to park at Skegness Seafront. We probably should have walked because £8 on parking is absurd. It also cost us £5.50 to park at Fantasy Island the next day as well. So we've got, what, £13.50 in parking charges. Plus, again, this is one we perhaps could have put in a different category. There were a couple of coffees purchased on the drives to and from Skegness, a couple of bottles of water. We spent about £10 on 2 different McDonald's trips just getting some drinks to basically keep me awake and therefore the rest of us alive on those journeys to and from Skegness. But even with that being included in this category, you're still only looking at about £50 or so on actual travel expense. And a big chunk of that is that parking, which is a surprisingly expensive chunk of the trip. There are a couple of unexpected costs that you could include within the trip, or you might not. I'm choosing not to include it in the trip for the total. Obviously, you saw in the videos, I did smash my camera, specifically this camera, and I have replaced it with this camera. So it was £500 to replace the camera that I smashed. Yeah, you could argue if we hadn't have gone, I wouldn't have smashed it. You could also argue I could have smashed it anywhere. So I don't think it's fair to include that in the cost of the trip, but it's a thing with travel. Travel is always going to have unexpected costs, and we hit a couple on this trip. It wasn't just the camera. We also broke Anna's shark fan. on the journey there, it got broken in the car on the journey there. I think we probably just rammed it in a bit too much of a tight squeeze, maybe shut the boot door on it. It's never been the same since. It is still under warranty, so we are currently exploring getting it repaired or replaced under warranty. If it doesn't get repaired or replaced under the warranty though, it's about a £200 hit to do a like-for-like replacement. I know we could get a cheaper fan, but we'd replace the one we had with like-for-like. So you could argue, just through being clumsy oafs, there's about a £700 hit there, which, yes, we could claim on our travel insurance. We haven't. We're hopefully going to get the shark fan sorted under its own warranty. And I actually might be able to get this repaired under warranty as well, because I've only had this for a couple of years. It doesn't mean I didn't need to buy this, because I used this already this weekend. I can't go a couple of weeks without a camera, but I am sending this back to DJI. And if they decide it's something that is covered under warranty, which I don't know if it is yet, this might get repaired. I might end up with 2 cameras. So I might get a bulk of the cost back if I decide to sell one. I can't really return the one that I've used, but I could potentially sell one of them or keep one of them for a spare for future situations. Either way, like I say, it's just, be aware there were a couple of additional expenses, but I'm not including them in the total for the trip, because if luck had fallen a different way over the course of the week, neither of them would have even have come up. And it's not fair to include them in the cost of us basically reviewing the trip. So all of that means the total cost for the trip. So we're talking accommodation, food and drink, entertainment and travel, not including the camera or the fan. By my reckoning, it was $349 for the accommodation, food and drink about $200, entertainment about $35, travel about $50. So it comes in somewhere in the £600 to £650 range for a 4-night trip. I think specifically it's £637.50 for 4 nights. That's, remember, for 3 adults plus a dog in June for 4 nights. And I actually don't think that's too bad. It's coming in at just over £200 per person. It's dead on £200 per person if you allow for the cost, because it does cost more to take the dog. So if you take the cost of Dave out, it is pretty much nailed on at £200 per person, all in for travel, accommodation, food and entertainment. Yes, it's only Skegness, but I think going to Skegness when the weather is nice but it's not too busy really does paint that town in a different light. It was a much more positive Skegness experience than I've had in the past. There wasn't a load of drunk party people all over the place. There wasn't a load of kids everywhere getting in the way. We timed it perfectly right. Being able to travel outside of the school holidays is a huge plus for us. Obviously, Andy turns 21 in a couple of weeks, so school holidays is definitely no longer a concern for us, but it certainly helped when we were able to go. Obviously, this entire trip would be a lot more expensive if you're doing it in the middle of August, and would probably be a lot less pleasant as well, because it would be full of a lot more drunk people and children. They seem to come hand in hand, like the parents have to drink to get through the holiday with the kids. But I think it was a really good value trip. So yeah, big thumbs up. Can't really fault it at £200 a person for a 4-night trip, even if it is only a couple of hours down the road. And then of course the other thing, it was a trip with multiple purposes. I did make a video before we left talking about how I was experimenting with 1-bag travel. I did it, and I have some thoughts on it, so I'm just going to include them at the end here rather than making a whole separate video. There were a few items that I packed that I won't need to pack next time because I didn't touch them at all. The iPad, I mentioned I was taking it to give me a second screen option for my laptop. Didn't turn it on. Don't need to take my iPad in future. Same with my big over-ear headphones. Didn't use them. Just used my AirPods the whole time. If I needed it and noise cancelling, I've got AirPods Pros. You can noise cancel on them. I didn't need the headphones. I also didn't use my little retro Andonic handheld. All the gaming I did was on my Switch 2. So there's some electronical devices I don't need to take in future. There was also some products I was trialing that worked really well. The bar of soap in the little pouch. Again, all of this is in the previous video if you want to go back and look at that, but I don't usually use bars of soap, and they tend to make a mess in bags when you do use them, but the pouch was great, didn't leak. The soap actually lathered up and worked really well, got me clean. I didn't stink. That combined with the crystal deodorant also worked really well, even in a very hot week. So the two of those combined, definitely things that are going to go in my travel kit from now on, because they're not liquid, so they're going to make it much easier to do air travel because less liquids to take account of. The microfiber towel was less of a success. It's going to stay in the kit. It's going to stay in the bag. It'll be fine for the beach or the pool as like a bonus towel, an extra towel. But I think for daily showers, I want a proper towel, which obviously if we're in a hotel, I'm going to get a proper towel. So this can just become a bonus extra thing unless we happen to find ourselves in a caravan again, which I don't know that we're going to particularly soon. It's not something we've done a lot of over the years, but yeah, having to use that for my showers, for the beach, for the pool. I mean, it was getting dry, it dries super quick, but it's just not very nice to dry yourself with, especially after a shower. Also with the clothes, I ended up taking too many and also not enough. So I didn't wear the trousers or the hoodie that I took. It was really warm. I didn't need the trousers or the hoodie at all. I only wore 3 of the 4 pairs of shorts that I took. However, I did only take enough t-shirts for 1 per day and stained one early on the day I was wearing it. So I could have maybe done with an extra t-shirt to account for my own clumsiness. But overall, I can take slightly less clothes, at least on a good weather trip like this one. So a couple of easy tweaks for the next time I tried it out. And that's going to be the thing with the 1 bag stuff. We'll keep revisiting it from time to time on every trip. And I will eventually tweak it and get it down to the most minimal, easy to carry travel kit I can possibly do. Then I'll make a big video showing you how awesome it is. That's the plan. It's probably going to be a multi-year process, but all in all, like I say, great value trip, 3 adults and a dog in summer. Fantastic. Can't fault it. The weather certainly was a big, big bonus. The site being nice and clean and modern and like newly renovated. It was clearly a new caravan. All really big bonuses as well. And yeah, we just had a really good time. Would we do that same trip again? Yeah, possibly. I'm not in a rush to go and do it again, but I think we probably would. And if we did, we might spend a little bit less on food, avoid the play pass and be able to do it even cheaper than it was. And I think if you were to offer me the same trip for 400 or 500, I'd bite your arm off. For 600, it does require a little bit more thought because there are certainly alternate things that you can do for £600. For example, me and Anna, obviously it was just me and Anna, Andy and Dave didn't come, but me and Anna back in February, March, April, whenever it was, earlier this year, we went to Disneyland. We had 2 nights in France and a day in Disneyland. We did that for about £600. We did the 4-night cruise to Amsterdam earlier in the year as well, which was about £300 per person, and there were some additional costs on that as well. That was just for the cruise itself, but certainly for less than £1,000 you could comfortably do that cruise. So when you're comparing it against kind of similar priced budget travel stuff, there's other stuff I'd probably want to do more, but at the same time they were just me and Anna and they were in the winter. This is a summer holiday with Andy and the dog involved, so on that basis, you can't really beat it. But let me know down in the comments if you can. Have you done caravan holidays? What did you think? And what's been the best value trip you've found? Suggestions for future content, really. We want to do more travel stuff, but we can't afford to travel loads. So if you've got suggestions for really good value stuff we could try, ideally that will include Dave as a minimum, because getting him into the kennels is a problem and an expensive problem at that. So anything we do over the course of the rest of the summer, I think at this point, Dave's going to have to be with us because we can't get him in the kennels now. But even if it's tips for stuff to try next year, I am all ears. But if you've enjoyed this video, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for loads more of whatever this is, me sitting at my table and chatting to you. And thank you very much for watching.